What happened to Recful and Alinity opening up about harassment needs to be a learning moment. LSF needs to take a long, hard look at itself. While it's not 100% of the users here, a sizable number play into toxic narratives that can be detrimental to mental health. For example, here's a thread on Recful proposing over Twitter a few hours before he committed suicide. This guy is such an infant, it's pathetic. Unmedicated mental illness, yeah, I mean, like, oh, no. Byron, you just posted cringe, bro. Like, I mean, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? How many more times does he get to use that excuse? And that got 13 points, and the person that said that it was a shit take got -6. No, there's no reason for this to happen. The mods just have to do a better job. If you see a hate thread about somebody, just delete it. Like, all they need to do is just make a rule like, okay, well, if there's a hate thread about somebody, just delete the hate thread. Hate threads add no value. They just make the platform worse, and they're also against Reddit's core rules. In a lot of ways, I'm surprised the subreddit at certain points hasn't gotten quarantined.
Hate towards livestream fails is unjust. This Reddit page simply shows clips of funny stream moments, fails, wins and streamers breaking rules. Livestream fails is no different from these esport journalists or the mainstream media cover same stories. Stop supporting censorship.
You're right that it's similar to mainstreamed media in the fact that it often misrepresents what people say and do on stream in order to promote a specific agenda. LSF can be redeemed, but the criticism is deserved.
I don't understand why LSF is such a big deal to streamers. Just don't go there and read stuff if it's detrimental to your mental health, like Forsen does.
Issue is that even when you don't read it, it's undeniably a large part of the community, and the content that's posted there will influence public opinion and make its way back to your stream and social media.
So viewers' opinions are a problem? I got to idea, get off the internet so you are safe from others' opinions.
This is a completely reductive way of looking at the problem and ignores the entire premise of why people are concerned with LSF. When viewers have their opinions influenced by biased sources and misinformation, how is that not an issue?
May I remind you what you said, because it seems you have forgotten.
The it I was referring to was the intentionally misleading information and out-of-context clips that are used for the sole purpose of pushing a false narrative about someone maybe that was unclear. But I'm surprised you disagree. You've had hundreds of people do the same thing to you.
The overall point that you're trying to make is LSF shouldn't exist because people will have a bad opinion of a streamer and they will go to their stream. But you a streamer that is clearly biased in favor of streamers. Your opinions on LSF is sending hate to LSF. Small brain new L.
When did I say LSF shouldn't exist?
I was being dramatic, but if you wanna criticize LSF, then LSF can criticize streamers.
Sure, LSF can criticize streamers, but can you agree that there's a difference between criticism and misinformation?
Give me an example of the misinformation.
Sure. This week XQC talked about paid charity events and was clipped out of context and used to demonize other streamers who previously did charity streams under a false assumption.
Explain how it was out context? XQC was right, some streamers do get paid to do charities. How is LSF to blame? What did LSF do wrong?
It was out of context because XQC went on to clarify and explain the situation in more detail, but that was left out. LSF is to blame because it caused them to attack other innocent streamers who were doing charity streams under the assumption that they were doing it for money.
So you're going to honestly say that no one watching XQC when he said this live on his stream left that stream questioning streamers if they get paid for charity events? It was only the LSF clip that caused people questioning streamers?
No, it wasn't only the LSF clip that caused it, but LSF was certainly a contributing factor in promoting it and spreading a false narrative that streamers had to defend themselves from.
False narrative? So are you saying that no streamers get paid for charity events? What XQC was not false and the clip is not a false narrative. You are just wrong.
Reality, some streamers get paid to do charity events. Clip. Most streamers get paid to do charity clips. Actual XQC statement. Some streamers get paid to do charity events. False narrative. X streamer does paid charity events and lied about it. Does that make sense?
Most, some, not really much of a difference. XQC and his statements are number one reason people questioned other streamers about their charity event. To blame LSF seems incredibly dishonest.
There's a huge difference between most and some. Some could mean 2%, most means at least 50%. If LSF is where the misinformation is distributed, how are they not partially at fault?
It's not misinformation. It's a clip of what he actually said in that moment. Most later he said some, regardless the result is the same. Viewers will question streamers if they get paid for charity. LSF did nothing wrong.
Witch hunting other streamers based on a false narrative is 100% wrong. Them having to come out and defend themselves from a lie is also wrong. LSF is partly responsible for both of those things and should exercise better moderation to avoid misinformation being spread.
It's not a false narrative. He said what he said on video clip.
Yes, it is. It left out additional context, and by leaving it out, people got the wrong idea about what actually happens. That is literally a false narrative.
Have you ever shown a clip on any of your platforms out of context?
Ever? Probably yeah.
I know for a fact you have.
Then why did you ask?
Just so we're clear, you're guilty of the same exact thing that you're accusing LSF of.
I think we all are. That doesn't mean we are immune from criticism for doing it, LSF included.
So yeah, Keemstar, yeah, I got in a debate with Keemstar yesterday on Twitter. So Keemstar was saying that LSF is completely innocent, didn't do anything wrong. We got to the point in the argument where it's like, well, streamers can criticize LSF, or sorry, LSF can criticize streamers, but streamers can't criticize LSF, right? And that's basically what happened. Now, I was kind of annoyed by that, honestly, and I thought it was kind of a dumb. I expected like something smarter out of Keemstar. I thought that was kind of dumb, and I don't know really why he said it the way he did. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, to be completely honest with you guys. It just didn't. Smart guy Keemstar? Well, the Keemstar is a smart guy. Like, he's a smart guy. He's run a YouTube channel forever. He's come out ahead. Like, every single controversy that's ever happened, Keemstar has weathered the storm. Like, and that's gotta stand, that's gotta mean something, right? I mean, like, this guy can survive a nuclear explosion. It doesn't matter. Like, he can call people the N-word, he can dox them, he can fucking drive somebody, or at least participate in, you know, making somebody mentally ill that ultimately led to their suicide, and all of these things are fine. And nothing gets him. Like, it's fucking, he's Teflon, man. Nothing sticks. And to an extent, I'm like, wow, that's kind of impressive, you know? I mean, not in necessarily a good way, but it's impressive regardless. And I see what happens with this guy, and so I don't know. Like, I don't understand why. Like, to me, it was weird. Like, I didn't understand why he didn't see my point, and it felt like he was trying to misunderstand what I was saying, which is one thing that I don't like. Is whenever people, you know, people they take what you say and then they turn it into something that's not, and that's very, very annoying to me, especially like. And then one thing he said to me is like, well, have you ever taken anything out of context? I'm like, yeah, probably. Like, yeah, I mean, sure, probably. And I think that the way that you handle, like, here's a bit of advice, right? Whenever you have somebody who's very accusatory or anything like that, who's like super vindictive and accusatory, the best way to handle it is to just be completely honest with them, because it takes the wind out of their sails completely. Because if you just say, yeah, like, they weren't expecting to see that, to say that, you know? And it's the best way to have like an honest conversation. It's kind of like the best exposure for bad ideas is sunlight sometimes. It's kind of the same way. And like, I don't know, like the LSF thing, obviously, like, there's been a lot of people talking about LSF recently, and I can see why, of course. And LSF, like, this is kind of like my opinion on it, is that LSF is redeemable. I don't think that LSF is irredeemable. Like, for example, I remember all the time, like, where I would just go watch clips of Shroud playing PUBG. Like, that's it. I just watched clips of Shroud playing PUBG, and it was great. Now, here's what my concern is with LSF, is let's say we shut down LSF. Let's say we decide all the streamers get together, they lobby with Twitch. Here's how to shut it down, by the way. You just DMCA every single clip of yourself on Reddit off of Reddit, and they won't be able to post anything. Like, that's how you do it. Like there's no like fucking like magic, like, oh, I don't know how this works or whatever. Yeah, you just DMCA all of it off. Like Twitch could do that immediately. And that's something that's at their own discretion, but I don't want them to do that. That's the thing, is I don't want them to do that. Here's why. Is that, you know what happened whenever Ice Poseidon shut down his subreddit? Ice Poseidon 2 happened. And then there's another Ice Poseidon as well. And the subreddits are just going to, they will multiply. And it's not actually solving the problem. Like, deleting the subreddit does not solve out the problem. Or does not solve the problem. That's really what my concern is. You know, Reddit used to be a safe space where you can have your opinion. Well, the thing is, like, nobody ever wants to have different opinions in the same place. Like, most people just want their opinions to dominate other people. You can't destroy negative energy. Well, you can in a way, right? You can minimize it. You're never actually going to destroy it, but you can minimize it to a point where it's negligible and the community doesn't necessarily reward it. And I think that's really what the main problem is with something like Reddit. Is like if somebody makes a really, like a bad joke, like a mean joke about some streamer, and then, you know, it's funny for, I mean, and it's genuinely funny, right? I mean, like, let's not pretend like there are never any funny jokes that are made at other people's expense. There's plenty of them. But the fact is that you have LSF and those comments get upvoted and it creates a feedback loop that rewards people for shitting on streamers and shitting on other people. And that's actually what the problem is. That's really what the issue is. It's the reward structure that's around it. And that's what I don't like. The problem is social media. Don't use it. Problem solved. I feel like that's probably the most reductive way of looking at it, and I disagree with that completely, and here's why. So I know that there's a lot of people that, like, they use the one hand logic. Oh, okay, well, if you don't like LSF, then just don't read LSF. Well, here's what the problem is that, for example, my comment about the charity stream on Thursday went on LSF. And then I had people that weren't watching my stream, but they saw LSF, read that, and then come to my stream. So what happens is there's a feedback loop where the person says something, and then it gets clipped, and it gets put on this third-party website. And, you know, whether it be Reddit or Twitter or anything like that, people discuss what's happening, and they create a negative like a negative sentiment about that person, and then they take that negative sentiment and then they inflict it on the person by going back to their stream. So it does come back around and fuck you in the ass, and that's basically what it is. Basically, that's what happens, is that you have these people and they go and they put up these they put up these threads about somebody, and the thread is deliberately done, it's deliberately written in a way to promote like some degree of a false narrative. And like one thing that like was really surprising to me about the Keemstar situation was that like he's been the victim of mischaracterization and clips taken out of context more than anybody on the internet. So like he knows more than anyone how much of a detriment that is to somebody. And even if he feels like it shouldn't bother him like mentally, or it shouldn't bother you mentally, well, no, I mean like, no, he feeds off it, sure. But like what I'm saying is like Keem says, like, according to him, there are a lot of clips that have been taken out of context. Is that right? A lot of clips of him have been taken out of context, according to Keem. And from that logic, it would make sense that he would not want to see something that proliferates taking clips out of context. You see what I'm saying? So what ends up happening is that, you know, he has a clip taken out of context, and let's say he thinks that that should not bother you mentally at all. He still lost his G Fuel sponsorship over that. He still lost other sponsorships over that. So even if you can make an argument that it doesn't actually hurt you emotionally or mentally, or it shouldn't, you can't make an argument that it will not affect you. Well, what I'm saying is like, good? No, well, that you might think that it's good, but if you understand it from his perspective, it would not be good. Because from his perspective, a clip that was used to mischaracterize him in a way that he did not intend was then used to cause him to lose financial stability. So I don't think that's a good idea, right? Like fundamentally, like everybody can clap and cheer for this because it's Keemstar. But the reality here is that this could happen to anybody. This could happen to anybody. You could have a clip taken out of context, or you could have something that you say that's like there's no There's like nothing else really to it, and it's just baiting you for his new content on YouTube. I don't think it's really baiting or anything like that. I mean, like maybe, I mean, you never know with Keemstar, but that's not the main thing. This is Wronghold the Zion Man. Defending Keemstar is never the route, even if you ideologically think it's sound. Well, the only reason that people are telling me that is because they're so emotionally invested in the situation that they can't look at it logically. I'm discussing a situation that has a parallel to what we're talking about on here. So obviously, yeah, just listen to what I'm saying rather than just immediately, you know, go into some conclusion that I'm defending Keemstar. I think Keemstar has done a lot of bad shit. And I think that also some of the bad shit that he's done is not actually as bad as people make it out to be. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't 100 other things that he did that were bad too. So it's like if I say, oh, well, you know, maybe he didn't do this one bad thing and this is, you know, misunderstood, then that means that I'm okay with everything else that he does. That's not it at all. And so anyway, the point that I'm making here is this. It is not healthy for the platform to have a space where people can lose their livelihoods based off of something that is intentionally misrepresented. That is not good. And I think everybody can agree with that. Like, let's say you have a sponsorship for 20 grand a month. Or let's say you're a smaller streamer. You've got a sponsorship for $1,000 a month. You've got a G Fuel sponsorship and you make total $3,000 a month. And you have a clip taken of yourself that's out of context. It was like maybe something bad that you said. It's like a 2 out of 10 on the bad scale. And the clip makes it seem like it's a 7. And what ends up happening to you is that you lose your sponsorship and you go down from making $2,000 a month to $3,000 a month to making 2. That is a massive fucking difference. That is a massive fucking difference. And I don't think that's something that we should look forward to or promote or celebrate at all. And that's pretty much the way that I look at it. How are you? I'm doing good, man. And rich people don't know what small is. Well, what I mean is, like, even for Keemstar, for example, like, he's had this happen. And that's really what I'm trying to say, is he's had this happen. And based off of that, I expected him to have, like, a better perspective on it, considering it's something that's happened to him. Now, obviously, that didn't happen, but that was my expectation. Does that make sense? No offense, but imagine a world that needs you of all people to make this point to people. Well, yeah, well, a lot of people don't get this, because everybody likes to celebrate whenever somebody else has something bad happen to them, even whenever the bad thing that happens to that person is unfair. And I feel like that's a very, very bad, it's a bad precedent to set. I don't like that at all. And yeah, you have to be consistent, because if you're not consistent, then people are just going to use the same shit against you. Did not drop. Okay, that's the way it goes. The way I look at it is that with big streamers like you should create a new Reddit and not allow your videos to be on LSF, then moderate the new Reddit in a more conscious manner. I think that there's value to be had with a community-driven subreddit, and like with streamers moderating it, I feel like you'd get into the situation where there'd be almost like no... It's very hard to actually give constructive criticism on Reddit. And I don't know exactly why that is. I feel like it probably does have to do with the upvote and downvote system. But there's plenty of other things that are kind of, that do contribute to that as well. And I don't know, like maybe that would be a good idea, is just have like all the streamers kind of make their own subreddit. But whenever someone does not believe in mental health and pops up on one of these same day Rectal passes away, deserves to get fucked. Well, here's an example, right? So, let's say somebody steals something. And then the person, somebody decides that, you know what, he was stealing something, I'm just going to shoot him. And he shoots the guy and kills him. Well, he was doing something wrong, right? He was stealing something. But did he deserve to get shot? Probably not. That's what I'm really trying to say. Is that just because something bad happens to a bad person doesn't mean that the system that created the bad outcome is a good system. And that's really what I'm talking about. Now, you can be happy about Keemstar getting in trouble or losing his sponsors or whatever you want to call it, but I don't think that necessarily means that it's a good thing for the platform. And that's really the main thing that I'm trying to get at. Does that make sense? And I think this is kind of what the issue is with cancel culture, and this is why it keeps happening, is because people end up celebrating it whenever it happens to a person that they don't like. And because that happens, there's somebody that doesn't like everybody, and that way somebody every single time whenever they get canceled has a group of people that wants it to happen. And that's really what it is. And really want to hear your opinion on how you'd hold Keem accountable for his actions then? Well, if I was YouTube, because YouTube is obviously the platform that, what do you call it, that Keem is mainly on, is I would look and I would see if, you know, he's a positive influence on the community or not, and I'd make a decision based off of that. I'm not going to say that I would ban him. I don't know, like probably, maybe, I don't know. But the point that I'm making is that it's possible. I would permaban 100%. Well, I don't want to say that I would permaban somebody. Like, I don't know exactly every single little bad thing Keemstar has done, but I would look into it and make a decision, of course. And I think that's really what it is. Like, I don't want to go on, it looks bad if I have an argument with somebody on Twitter and then the next day I go on my stream and I say I want to ban them on YouTube. You know, it just doesn't look good for me. So hopefully that makes sense. So doesn't allowing toxic people be bad to be endorsed by these companies just encourage Spurgs to act in the same light? Well, I think so to an extent, but the problem is that once you start going after people's sponsors, you create a system where you reward people and you send your audiences after innocent people that are just working at the company. Like, I remember whenever the Keemstar versus H3H3 thing happened, tons of people that worked at G Fuel were getting attacked by, H3H3 fans because they wanted to get Keemstar taken off of the brand. And that's not something that's good at all. I don't like that at all. And didn't Keem start that shit though? I mean, you can say like whoever started it or whatever, but the point is that like whenever you have people go after sponsors, the outcome of that is you militarize your audience into attacking innocent people that work at the company. And that's really what it comes down to. If you feel that way, you should just message and send something to their customer support and make a decision that way. But I think going after people's sponsors is a bad idea, and it's not healthy for the space at all, man. That's really what it is. And everyone starts losing. Yeah, exactly. Anyone in a normal career would probably lose their job if they said some of the things that Keemstar has. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I'd pretty much agree with that. But the thing is, like, as I said, I mean, you guys have to understand, like, I'm not really defending what Keemstar has done or anything like that, but I do think that it's important to, whenever you have somebody who is, acting like an asshole, that you don't just resort to doing things unfairly because you feel like they deserve it. Because if you do that, I'm not gonna say you're no better than they are, but you're still a piece of shit. And that's really what I think about it, man. A thread yesterday opened up some dialogue between us and our users, which confirmed our suspicions that this subreddit needs drastic change. The first of these changes is becoming more transparent in the actions we take and why we take them. In all honesty, the mod team has been in shambles for a long time now. Moderator burnout took a hold a while ago, and there's been a little effort put into fixing it, so we feel now is the time. The first change we will be making is a rules reform. The rules are in a sorry state with a lot of gray areas for individual mod biases to hide in, and strange inconsistencies that are very confusing for a user's perspective. These inconsistencies make it appear as if harassment is allowed against some streamers or not others, or if we're defending aberrant behavior while censoring the good people. The changes we're making with the first step will be implemented very soon, aimed at solving these problems. The second installment of this change will be in the form of a concise infraction system. As mentioned, we've been, okay, so basically people are gonna get in trouble. Another one of the proposed changes, we will allow streamers to opt out of being posted on the subreddit. Currently, we do not allow this as any internal vote within our mod team, but this decision was made before all the recent drama and needs to be reconsidered. Additionally, we realize that a subreddit with almost 1 million people cannot be managed by a small handful of mods that we currently have, and we will be looking for more moderators as soon as possible. So, obviously this is good. Like, obviously this is a good thing. Would you opt out of LSF? No, I mean, probably not. I mean, like, the thing is that here's what you don't need to have streamers opt out of LSF. All you need to do is that whenever a thread is made that's just for the intent of shitting on a streamer, or there are comment chains being made that are just shitting on streamers and it just turns into a hate thread, just delete those comments. There's no value in having them. And I don't think that this is some sort of like this is not a positive force to have people just like, oh, well, what are you saying? Are we banning criticism? No, but like a feeding frenzy, talking shit about another person over and over and over, and just like people like basically circle jerking about how much of a piece of shit they are. Like, this is not healthy for a community. There's no reason for it to exist, and I don't think that it helps anybody by it existing. That's really what it comes down to. But it's censorship. Oh, it is. It is censorship, and I don't think that it's a bad thing in this case. It's important to make sure that you grow your community in a healthy way, and you just delete hate threads. Like, that would be a brilliant way of dealing with it, just right off the top. Just fucking delete hate threads. Like, harassing somebody and just like personally attacking another streamer or another person online or on Twitter or something like that, this is not something that I think is worth keeping. This is not something that's good. It adds no value at all. It's a pure negative.